3, 2, 1. We are live. Welcome everyone to the Feel Inspired podcast. My name is Amit, Sodha. You all know and love me, I know. And I've got a wonderful guest today. Actually, I was just saying to this amazing guest that actually I haven't had many dating experts on the podcast, so you're actually going to be my first one. So I'm really looking forward to this as well, so we can have a good old deep dive and brainstorm onto different dating topics. But for anyone who's joining for the first time, and if you're watching the replay, thank you for joining us. Like I said, my name is Amit Sodha. I'm an expert dating coach from the UK, and this is the Feel Inspired podcast, where we cover all sorts of topics around personal development, health, growth, personal growth, all of that kind of stuff. So the full gambit that you can possibly imagine. And today's guest, I'm going to let her do the introduction about herself because I want it to be done with full justice. But she is known on social media as Dr. Datefully. She is a psychologist and a dating coach as well, which is great because I think when we had a chat on your channel a couple of weeks ago, I was really intrigued to hear some of your responses to my answers. So I was like, oh, cool, this is really nice, actually. So I'm really looking forward to getting your take on this as well. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Marissa. Welcome to the Feel Inspired podcast, episode 34. So my first question to you is very simply, tell us all about yourself and how you got to this point, because obviously I think you didn't start off as a relationship psychologist, as I understand it, but dating became something that you employed later on. Is that right?
Absolutely. So I started out as a psychologist, as a psychotherapist. I've been in that role for 18 years. I've worked with individuals, couples, families, research, private practice, community clinics, and I have found that what is most important to people in their lives and fulfillment is the health of their relationships. And the most recent work I did as a psychologist was in addiction, and I was a family therapist, and it was heavy. It was heavy. I would come home from work, I gave it all. And I felt like, man, I want to have more fun in my job. I'm working all the time. I want it to be fun and fulfilling. So I was talking to a colleague. I'm like, oh, I want to have more fun. She said, well, what do you like talking about? And instantly I said, dating. I love talking about dating. She said, well, why don't you do that? Why don't you help people date? And I'm like, yeah. Well, that seems so obvious. And, that was last year. I embarked on this journey. I launched a brand, Datefully, which is dating coaching based in psychology. And I help people who come into my practice for both psychotherapy and for coaching understand where their blocks are in dating, why they can't find relationships, why they are struggling so much in love. And I use both psychological approaches and just really direct coaching to be like, hey, this is what's going on. So I'm having fun. I set the intention to have fun, and a year later, I'm having tons of fun doing this. I have a show on Zeus, Plenty of Fish. Meet me live with Dr. Marissa. We talk about love, dating, and mental health, and you were one of my guests. Yeah, that's how we connected. I'm like, I like this guy, so I'm glad you invited me here today.
I'm so glad we did.
It's your 2-year anniversary of this podcast. And so, wait a second.
For the audio listeners out there, one of the candles on her energy bar celebration cake.
Yeah, so blow this out. I like to celebrate. This is your 2nd year.
It is 2-year anniversary.
There you go.
I love it. I love it.
To many more years to come. Happy to be here.
Oh, indeed. Thank you so much. I couldn't think of a better guest to have on for my 2-year anniversary as well. So I want to say thank you for being here. And I want to learn all about, because obviously you come from a therapy background. So you've got a whole host of experience into, people's psyches, the way they work, what they go through, some of the challenges they face, the mental health, the barriers, breaking them down, breaking through some of this stuff. So I want to get some of your take on the whole aspect of dating. But I tell you what, let's start with your thoughts on kind of some of the modern day challenges that you're seeing a lot of in your practice, like with people, and what are the key things, the common things, or the common threads or themes that you're seeing over and over again from the whole spectrum of people who approach you, from men, women, or otherwise, that are coming to you for help? What are you seeing more of these days?
Well, two things. One thing is thinking, the way people are thinking about dating after being rejected or having some bad experiences, they develop beliefs. They develop this belief that I will never find someone, dating sucks, I hate this, I'm going to give up. And so their beliefs then affect how they feel. It affects their mood, which then affects their behavior. And the way you behave affects your reality. So it's very simple. It starts with thoughts, goes to behavior, mood, and then how you behave, your reality. And that's the premise of cognitive behavioral psychology. You need to change your thinking to change your life. So the way people think, their faulty assumptions, beliefs, and then the way people show up on dating apps and in the real world, if they want to attract love, sometimes they need to, get some better pictures, write a better profile, and make some eye contact in the real world. So there are actual behaviors and the way you present yourself, and then there are psychological components as well.
Yeah, that pretty much I think is on par with the stuff I see a lot of, I think. And it's I think for me as well, one of the big things I see is the change that people have experienced with all the modern day methods of dating, dating apps, and the advent of all these I guess the best way to describe it is the advent of swipe dating. And I don't know what you think about this, but a lot of people say to me, oh, it's so difficult now with swipe dating. And I say, no, it's not. The fundamentals haven't changed. The tools have. But if you fall for the tools too much and you get too engrossed in that world, of course you're going to struggle. But if you understand, actually, forget the apps, forget the dating, forget what is your goal and what you need to do in this process, and then you will stay on track.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that that's kind of fair?
Absolutely. I feel it gets really muddled and people become very focused on the process, and they give up really easily when they get ghosted a couple times, or the swiping, they don't make too many connections and they're like, well, this isn't going to work for me. So I'm just going to give up. Maybe I will meet someone in real life, or I don't need anyone anymore. I can't do this. I'm fine. But if you really go back and think, what do I want in my life? Do I want a companion, a partner? Do I want intimacy? Usually that's yes. So let's get back to what's going to get you there, whether that's connecting in real life or on the dating apps. Both can work for you if you do it in a smart, mindful way. So I completely agree. You can still have success on these dating apps, even if you haven't already. So people think, well, I haven't already, so I'm going to stop. It means I'm not going to anymore. And that's a faulty belief, because your future, your past does not need to dictate your future unless you allow it to.
Yeah, and the comments I hear is, this app doesn't work for me. This platform didn't work for me. This didn't work for me. I'm sorry to say, it's not the tool. It's not the tool. And it's trying to put that delicately towards people, right? So I think I mentioned this when we were speaking about kind of like from my perspective, like the culture, the South Asian culture, especially in the UK, is such that because we haven't really grown up seeing our parents date. Or our grandparents. Whereas in, say, a counterpart culture like the English culture, they may have parents or grandparents who talk about how they wooed their other half, and they'll have some idea of what dating is. Whereas in our culture, we've kind of taken on board this word date, but I don't think many people actually know what it means, or what dating actually is. So from your perspective, what is dating? What is the whole process of dating? Why are we out there doing this? Why do we need to even date? What is the purpose of all of this?
Yeah, so I guess the not dating would be to get set up, and to have that process. There was no choice in the past. You were set up with someone, you got married, and lived your lives together. But now that's not common. I'm in the States. I'm in Los Angeles. Most people don't have an
Stop
arranged
making
marriage.
us jealous over here. This, this
Sorry.
crazy British summer we're having.
It's beautiful here, 70s every day. So dating is the process of meeting people in order to find the right connection, a partner to have connection, intimacy, and love with. And then you're in control of this, not someone else setting you up. So you being in control of something could feel scary for you if that's not something you grew up knowing that was what you were going to have to do. But each person is in control of their dating life. They can say yes or no. They can put themselves out there. They can retreat. But ultimately, you're in control. And I think that's really scary for a lot of people. Just to mention, my parents met in an elevator. So
I love it.
that's how I grew up, is you don't know where you're going to meet someone at any time. You can meet the love of your life. So that was a message I received growing up, but I understand people receive very different messages.
Yeah, and I think that's, I know every culture is going to be different, but I do say to people, look, the human attraction element, and the human connection doesn't vary from culture to culture as such, but it's just, our innate desires and need for that connection doesn't, it doesn't change from culture to culture. But the way we do it sometimes, and what we're taught, and our opinion of it, and how we then implement it, that's what makes the difference. So can I ask you a question now as well about kind of your opinion about this? Because this is what I say to everyone, that dating is a skill. It's a learned skill. And it's not something that's necessarily innate to us. It's a new paradigm. And so we're all still learning about it. We're all still learning how to do it, how to get good at it, how to connect with people, how to create the connection, the small talk, go into in-depth conversation, how to really create a spark, and all of this kind of stuff. Would you agree about the whole skill set? And is that your take as well? And what do you tell people about this when they come to you?
Well, absolutely, it is a skill, and some people are just naturally attuned to picking it up, particularly extroverts. People, more introverted people struggle a lot more with dating because they are internal more. And then extroverts, of course, they feel more comfortable being out there, making small talk, connecting to many people. And that's what it takes. You have to connect to many people in order to find the right match. It's not just, okay, I want to connect to a few people and then find someone. In modern dating, you need to connect and connect. And that's really hard for people who are more introverted by nature. So they are going to need to get out there a little bit more, push themselves a little bit more, kind of go against what their natural inclination is, which is to connect with a few people in a deep way. Dating, you need to connect with many people, and at first it's superficial. So that's hard for a lot of people.
So is that the whole point then about being an introvert? Is that something that just about who they are, or can they become an ambivert or an extrovert?
I think that pretty much if you're an introvert by nature, you usually stay that way. All of these personality characteristics can change over time, of course, but I don't think that it's going to change and you're going to work on this and then it will change. However, introverts, ambiverts can learn these skills and feel more and more comfortable with getting out there, with making more connections where it doesn't feel like they're going against nature, that this is working for them. So whether they can change, that might take some time. However, they can absolutely learn, practice, and feel comfortable with these skills.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree so much. So let's talk about some of the common things that we mentioned earlier. What do you do with someone who comes to you and says, I keep getting ghosted? Every time I meet someone, I keep getting ghosted. What's your approach to someone who's going through that experience and they've been through it not just once but twice or more?
Okay. Two things. One thing is you need to be okay with rejection, that this is a part of the process, that you just have to be okay with it. Rejection years and years ago, like prehistoric times, could have meant death. If you're kicked out of the cave, you could die. But these days, you're rejected, you're not going to die. So take a couple breaths. This is part of modern dating now. So being ghosted in itself is not a reason to give up on this. But look at the messages you're sending, both written, verbal, and in person. Look at your energy that you're bringing to the process. So are you using pictures that are really outdated on your profile? And when someone sees you in person, they're like, what? Like, yeah. I am catfish.
It's a harsh truth, but it's true.
Yeah, so you need to use pictures that look like you. Get some professional photos. I suggest to everyone. So that's really basic. You could be getting ghosted frequently if you don't look like who you say you look like. Also, if you're sending mixed messages, if you say you're one thing, you're one way, and then you show up to the date very different. If you say I'm an outdoorsy person, I'm outgoing, in order to attract more people who are like that, and then you show up really more quiet. So if the way you say you are goes, contrary to how you show up, that's it too. And then some people just don't communicate well over text. They send their life story on one text after the connection. They're like, finally I get a connection. Let me tell them all about me. And they just blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. It has to go slowly. Often men get ghosted when they go too fast. They push too much for that communication. You just have to let the process unfold. If you push too much at first before you meet, or even after you meet, a woman's gonna let go of that connection most likely. It's gonna feel too much. So you really have to slow down the dating process a bit.
Yeah, definitely. We'll come back to this as well, but actually you just mentioned about men. So tell me some of the different things you would talk to men about when it comes to dating, and some of the different things you talk to women about when it comes to dating, or if it's someone who is gender neutral, whatever it is, as well, that you would bring up with regards to dating and some of the common challenges and what you would advise them.
Yeah, so everyone, no matter their gender, sexual identity, they come to other people with a certain amount of masculine, feminine energy. It's an energy, and that could shift over time. That could show up differently at work, at home, with kids, with partners. The amount of femininity and masculinity can change and be fluid. So if you hold more feminine energy in dating, I would say allow the man to lead. You're probably going to be attracted to more of a masculine energy. And if you are, let him take control of the process. And if he's not, don't step up. You're going to be you're not going to be happy.
Oh my God, it's like I'm talking to myself right now. Literally.
Oh, really?
Exactly. Almost word for word what I tell people. I'm not even joking. This is crazy.
Really? Great. Yeah, so if you are more in your feminine, you have to allow the man to lead. You have to be pursued. Because if you're in your feminine and you're pursuing, you're not going to be happy. And when you're not happy, your energy is going to be off. People are going to read that as like, ooh, this person has this kind of negativity. They're not someone I would be attracted to. So you have to bring joy and into your dating life. You have to bring more positivity. And that's being true to yourself and who you are. And the feminine needs to be pursued. The masculine needs to be the pursuer.
That's so, oh my God, like literally, I don't know, like get out of my head, Dr. Marissa, seriously. I know you're joking. I say this day in, day out to people, and I say exactly those words. It's about masculine, feminine energy. And I don't care, actually, quite frankly, don't care what gender you are, but this is how we operate. This is how we work. We operate in a dichotomy of these two energies, and there is a certain amount of push and pull. And if you understand them instead of trying to work against them, That's when you really get results. But again, like, I mean, I want to ask you something. So, this can be controversial at times, but I want to get your take on this as well. Again, I think I may have mentioned it when we spoke before, but part of my personal challenge with the current paradigm we live in is that we've ended up in a place where you've got, you know, things like, for example, the Me Too movement, feminism, etc., and that's really kind of made it even more difficult than it needs to be, because I think the mixed messages from some of these things, they're not bad in and of themselves, but because the way they're interpreted, and there are so many different versions of these messages that, for example, I'm seeing a generation of men who are very afraid to approach women because they're like, am I encroaching on her femininity? Am I going to get in trouble for being too forward? And you know, and it's almost like kind of divided. Say, for example, the masculine generation, you've got this whole camp who are just don't care and they will just be really rude. But then you've got the nice guys who have pulled back even more because they just don't know what to do anymore. And so I'm finding this happening more and more, and I want to get your take on this.
Yeah, and I can see why it's happening.
Yeah.
And there has to be a middle there. Being respectful. Let that be the word for men to lead you. You need to be respectful of women. You have to, care about them and about, what society has done, to women for years and generations. And you can still live in your masculine. You can show up. You can make the plans. You can tell them how you feel about them. You can open doors. You can feel good about being a man and showing up while being respectful to women. And understand that, in women are your equal. However, at the same time, there is masculine energy, which is strong and strength, and you don't have to overpower a woman in order to be strong. You could do some meditation. You could embody the masculine, feel what the masculine feels like, feel your internal power inside, and bring that to your date. There are meditations where you focus energy on your groin and you put energy there. You're just sitting alone, but you're energizing yourself. You're energizing your masculine. You can bring that to a woman and still be respectful. You can talk and have a back and forth. You don't have to mansplain. Some people don't know about mansplaining, but it's pretty offensive. But it's a learning process. You're learning about it. Just because you struggled in this way before, whether you've retreated more or you've been too forward and been rejected, either way, you can learn to walk the middle and learn how to be respectful, and also live in your masculine. I would say talk to your female friends about what feels good to them, what to avoid, what to come forward with, because as you have these conversations with women, you'll understand more how it feels like to be them dating. But hold on to your masculine energy. If you do like living in the masculine, you need to recenter on that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Just asked my wife about my mansplaining when we first met.
Wait, so how did you come to understand that what you were doing was mansplaining and then change the behavior?
I'm teasing a little bit. Actually,
Okay.
My experience actually was that I was a very feminine male at one point. Okay. I was the sensitive type, be there for them always type, be their best friend type. And therefore I would always get friend zoned and be the guy that they would come to complaining about the guys they were dating, all the while hoping that maybe they'd see that I'm the really nice guy and they would come to me. And it's a painful truth to reveal at times, but that's the truth of it. That's, what was going through my head very subtly. And then I started to realize that, and it wasn't like, for me, it wasn't a parental fault or anything like that, but I just didn't have any good masculine role models in my life until I came across and made some really good guy friends. But also when I went and did my research on the internet, I found some really good dating coaches who were very centered, and there was one particular. I don't know if he's active anymore, but there's a guy called David Wiggin. So many, many years ago, I came across his blog and his Facebook page or whatever it was at the time. And he was really good. He was a very heart-centered, masculine energy male. And, I learned a lot from watching his videos and the kind of things he talked about. And so that really set me on the right path, I think. So that for me was a big thing as well, but understanding that I definitely still mansplained a little bit, but I think it was the right way. I think it was the way that was a little bit of the male bravado, but shining them on kind of thing. I don't know if that's the right term anymore, but but that's what it was. That's where it came from. And it was my wife and I recently actually we went through our WhatsApp messages from when we first met, and we actually found them all. So I've got them actually. I took screenshots of all of them on my phone. I've got them somewhere actually. And I read through them, and I was just having a really good giggle when I read through them, because I was just being such a Jack the Lad, really kind of like talking myself up, but in the way that a man is supposed to do. In the way that a guy, it's not arrogant confidence. It was just that, yes, I'm that kind of guy, the suave type of thing, right? And that's what it was. And, I try and explain this to other masculine energy individuals that I coach and say to them, look, if you can this is innate within you, but unfortunately, a lot of messaging has got you confused. And if you can get in touch with yourself and who you really are at your core, then that's when it comes out, it's going to be irresistible to people. So that's where it came from. That was my long-winded answer to your question.
I think that's wonderful. Always fun to look back at old messages and see. Always fun.
So good. I'll try and dig them out while we're speaking, but yeah. So that was my side. But I think it's great to hear, and I think that more people need to hear this as well, because, like I said, I think we're so bombarded with information, right? And it's easy to get it all confused. Don't know what to take on board. Is that the right thing? Is that the right thing? Is that not the right thing? And so a lot of people are living their lives in limbo and just not sure what to do anymore. Or they go a completely different way and they end up just becoming very selfish and kind of callous in their approach. And if they not this way, I don't want to speak to them. And
that's a defense, right? I mean, if you harden yourself, it's usually because you've been hurt. So that shell, that pushing people away, that's a defense to getting hurt. And that's going to keep you away from love if you're highly defended. So you have to bring down those walls a little bit and go from the extreme into more vulnerable, the masculine vulnerable. And that's so hard to do because people think that, if you're masculine, you can't be vulnerable. But there is an intersection there that I think society is now seeing is possible, and men are seeing that this is possible. I would say it's kind of rare, but this is where the juice is. This is where the gold is the masculine energy and the vulnerability coming together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that deserves a bit of an amen.
Amen. It's possible, guys. It's possible. You have to embody who you are at your core. Meditation. I think meditation is extremely important. You get out of your thoughts and you get into your breathing, into your body. And when you get out of your thoughts, you can be so much more clear on who you are and where you want to be. So I suggest that to anyone who feels lost or not in touch with who they are.
So who do you get coming to you more? Would you say sort of male or masculine individuals, or female, feminine? Do you find that the men or masculine individuals are still a little bit hesitant to come to someone like you to get help?
I do. Not for psychotherapy. I have pretty even mix of people who have some, deep psychological issues that have persisted for years, and they really want to work through things from childhood, grief and loss, anxiety. That's a pretty even split. But for dating coaching, I have men reach out to me a lot, and they don't follow up.
Yeah.
Like I need help, but then when it comes to actually getting it, they drop the ball, and then women follow through more, in my experience. Uh, yeah, whether the women are more open to getting direction, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I noticed a bit of a change recently though, where a lot of guys, I sound like Cilla Black. A lot of guys were starting to reach out more and more and follow through as well. It was over the last 2 years. It's simmered down a little bit now, but it was really nice to see because in one sense, I love helping guys more because I think from the feminine perspective, the challenges are relatively status quo and they're almost uniform, I would say, and that's a bit of a sort of a generalization. And but in the same vein, the answers and the solutions are much more varied. Whereas with guys, it's more down to them and them putting themselves forward. So I found that helping guys in one sense is a little bit easier than it is helping women. It can be a bit more challenging, which is why I say to, men, masculine energy individuals, come forward because, what you're going through, everyone goes through. And the solutions aren't that difficult. Honestly, I know it's such a cliche, but if I could do it, anyone could do it. Because I was probably one of the most feminine men I knew at one point. It was just,
Wow.
and that came from a hormone perspective as well, because I had hormone challenges, and so I had to go through some physical therapy, but also a lot of self-coaching as well, and not just coaching from myself, but also learning from other people, and surrounding myself with guys who are like that, who are good with speaking to members of the opposite sex or who they were attracted to, and being able to learn from them, learning the art of flirting and connecting with people and having real conversations and really opening up and having heart-to-hearts and having fun at the same time. And I think that I don't know about you, but I think fun is missing so much right now.
Oh, absolutely. People are just starved for fun. During, as the pandemic is, in the States, it has, died down quite a bit. I don't know what it's like in the UK, but here people are getting out. Most people have been vaccinated. It depends where you live. But in Los Angeles, people are out there. People are going out to bars, even nightclubs. People are just starved for fun. Even my most anxious clients are going out. Like, I am just gonna go out despite my anxiety because I've been starved. And people like being around people who are having fun. When you were smiling, when you were in the moment, when you're engaged, you were attracting people to you. And that's something I learned in my own dating. When I'm smiling and having fun, men are attracted to me. Men want to go out with me again. But, the times that I've been in a bad mood, pessimistic, which is rare when I'm dating, but when men are like that, never want to go out on with them again. The pessimism, negativity is a repellent. Even self-deprecation is a repellent. So even if you're kind of a more sarcastic, pessimistic person, you have to find a way to bring some positivity when you show up as a single person out in the world, because that's really what's going to attract a mate. And that's what you want to attract a mate. You don't want your negativity to bring on more negative energy into your life. And positivity and having that optimistic mindset is going to color your life in a beautiful way in every aspect. So when you learn to step forward into that, you'll see how your life changes in really positive and beautiful ways.
Yeah, so true. I say to guys, I see so many guys trying to use sympathy as a tool, and I'm like, please, whatever you do, don't go down that road. It never ends well. Never ends well. By the way, I just picked up on something. I thought you were actually married. Are you single? Actually, actively looking?
I'm divorced. I'm very close friends with my ex-husband. So we have like a really cool family. I have a daughter. So the reason I got into dating coaching was after my divorce. I'm like, this is fun. I love this. I'm having a great time. What's up with everyone like hating this? I can help people because I'm having a great time. Yes, I'm single, and I've been actually realizing how ambivalent I've been to finding love. And it's only been recently, when I say recently, like a couple months, a few
Wow.
months since I've been vaccinated and spent a year alone with my daughter. I'm like, whoa, I want that connection again. I want love in my life again. And I need to really look at what this ambivalence is about, because the ambivalence is keeping me from love. It's not allowing me to attract a partner. So I'm working through that. And I feel like I'm in this really beautiful place in my life where when I might have thought I was ready before, I don't think I was, because I was so highly ambivalent
Mm.
because what happened to me in my divorce, and the strength I needed to, raise a daughter and be on my own. I'm like, oh, I don't want a man to mess this up. I don't want to deal with his stuff. I don't know. I definitely don't want to get divorced again. So there's been this really high ambivalence that I'm breaking down and really looking at. So that's where I am, and looking for like a really evolved man. I mean, my pattern were to date men who needed help, because I'm like, ooh, and that comes from childhood. Like my dad, I helped him a lot. He had some emotional things going on, and I received love through helping him. So I date these kind of fun, because my dad was like this fun character. I date these and I just like replay my childhood over and over again. Like, come on, Marissa. Like these fun, larger than life men who, like, at their core, like have some kind of damage, sadness, injury. I'm like, maybe that will be over. I'm actively working, with a therapist and doing some real internal work now, where I'm like, I don't want that in my life anymore. And energetically, I'm going to release that as a pattern. I'm going to heal that child who needed to take care of her father in order to receive love, because that's so limiting. That's not what I want anymore. So that was me being vulnerable. Usually I speak as an expert, but I think all of my wisdom comes from personal experience.
That's right, because you're
Yeah.
living it right now, and obviously that makes you even more better equipped to help people as well. It's interesting you say that about the helping, because that's one thing of all the coaches that I've coached through dating, and I say to them that for me, and this will be a hard thing for you, is turning off coach when you meet someone, because the two for me are mutually exclusive, and they have to be, because I think it's almost like I describe it, setting that healthy boundary, that I'm not here to coach you. This is about us as a relationship, but I'm not here to help you, to therapize you or anything like that. And I think it's an important thing, isn't it? And further to that as well, a question about you and your daughter as well. How old is your daughter now?
She's 8.
Oh, so she's still really, I was going to say, like, I mean, it must be cool for her to have a dating coach as a mom, but for the future, like, when she goes through her personal challenges, but I think right now she's fine. She's good.
Yeah, right now she's okay. Yeah, I mean, she thinks the talk show I do is really fun. She likes seeing me like on social media. She thinks that's fun, but otherwise, I don't think she understands what dating's going to look like for her. I don't want her to. Gosh.
Yeah, no,
let her play right now and be
absolutely. So two big questions for you. So one is, what do you tell people who when they meet you and they ask you, what do you do, right? So obviously if you're out there and you're meeting people, or what is your plan? What is your strategy when people ask that question? And number two, an interesting one that occurs, I've heard a lot from people recently, and especially women or feminine individuals, is my status, my career, my whatever I do intimidates people. So what do you do in those two situations for you, based on what you do? Obviously, that's going to be an interesting challenge, telling people what you do. But also, what do you suggest for yourself and for other people when you encounter that you feel like, oh, I just hear it so often, I'm a successful woman, and it intimidates guys. I'm very sort of slightly pessimistic about their response to that. But I just wanted to get your take on it.
Okay, well, interesting. That's a great question. Okay, so I've been a therapist psychologist for many years. So dating and not a dating coach. So I would tell them I really didn't have presence where people Googled me or looked for me. So I would tell them I'm a therapist. Some men would be like, "Can you read my mind?" I'm like, "I am not a psychic."
They come with a tinfoil hat.
So many times. No, and they're like, "Oh, are you analyzing me?" And I say, "No, I turn that off. However, if there is something wrong, I pick it up really quickly. So if everything is kind of in, the range of functional, I don't think about it. But when there's something really wrong, I'm like, okay, this isn't for me. I'm going to walk away. And usually it's a secure man, a confident man who feels comfortable with the work I do. However, this past year, when I have ventured into dating coaching, I have a website, I have social media, and I am Googleable. If you put Marissa Los Angeles dating or Marissa Los Angeles psychologist, you could Google me very easily. Even without the word dating coach, I am Googleable. So I show up to a date, people know what I do. I've had men say, "I'm intimidated by you," within like minutes. And that's okay. I am okay if they're intimidated by me. If they want to be with me, they have to show up as confident. I am not going to make them feel better. I'm going to be myself. I'm a really loving, warm person. I want to get to know him. However, if they find me intimidating, that's kind of on them, because I show up in my feminine too. And hopefully I break that down for them, as that goes on, and they don't see me as intimidating. However, I'm not going to change who I am to date someone. I think, however, really successful women, they need to show up in their masculine at work. And then they bring that masculine to dating, and it doesn't work out well. So I show up with masculine in my work, and a combination, because I'm also a therapist. However, because I do live in my feminine, I consciously turn that down in my dating life. However, I don't think a lot of women have learned to do that. They're like, "Oh, I'm a prize. I'm wonderful. I'm successful. Look at me on paper, blah, 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 and here I am." And that just doesn't work in connecting with a man if you want a masculine man. So you have to consciously turn that down.
Yeah. And what would be your advice to someone who's in that situation as well, or going through it? Like, what would you say to them, how they turn that down? Because I think I think this needs to be, if anyone's watching this right now, this needs to be heard, because it's so important. Because I was coaching someone recently, and she was like, I do my own DIY, I do this, I was like, so where is the place in your life for a man if you don't allow there to be space? What role is he going to play in your life if you don't allow or make some concessions, at least want to do it together with them? That's great. If you want to do your own DIY, there's no problem. But then have the desire to invite someone in to do it with you, not just, I will do it myself. It's like that defense has gone up. It's like that wall.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like, you've got to make space for someone to come in. Otherwise, no wonder, and I don't mean in a bad way, I never say this to him, but like, no wonder you're single, because if you don't allow that person to come in, where are they going to fit?
Exactly. So you have to allow, and I think that word is the most important word, to allow the connection and allow the flow instead of owning, taking control. You have to allow yourself to be pursued, allow a man to step forward and take control a little bit. Pick the venue, open the door, move forward with the relationship, allow him to set the pace a bit. And then when you were together, allow him to do nice things for you. It was something that happened to me recently. I hope this isn't too much information, but it's entertaining, so I will say it.
No,
I will say it. I will be out with it. So I was with a man, and I had a hard time falling asleep. It was someone I was dating, and he was like, "Can I tickle your back?" I'm like, "No." I can I can put myself to sleep. You don't, what? I'm like, I put myself to sleep. And then I realized, I'm like, no, he actually wanted to do that. That would have made him feel good for me to allow that. And I didn't allow that. Whether it was pride or me wanting to like be strong and be an adult, I did not allow the man to live in his masculine. I really shut it down. So those are the kinds of things. Allow a man to help you. Allow a man to take care of things a little bit. You don't need the one to be the one who's the adult stepping up all the time. So hopefully that point illustrated masculine, feminine dynamics and how you could bring that down for yourself. Usually I'm not that explicit, but it's your show, so I will.
No, that's definitely not too explicit, because I think that's like what you said is so important, because if the man doesn't have utility, then his confidence, his esteem goes, it diminishes completely, and he needs to be appreciated for that. I mean, I don't know what you think about this example. One of the examples I give to my clients is that, like, for example, I say to women, imagine you are with a fella, and you spend, you're going out for a big night out, and you spend 2 hours getting ready, making yourself look absolutely fabulous. And you go downstairs and you're waiting for that message, for him to say, wow, honey, you just look stunning, right? But you come downstairs and he says, right, let's go. And he doesn't comment on the fact that you've taken time to, look beautiful, look fabulous. How do you as a woman feel when that happens? And obviously, inevitably, the answer is not great. I'm going to be a bit pissed off about that. Okay, great. How is he going to feel when you don't appreciate the things he does or the things that he needs to be appreciated for? Yeah. And that is what's missing, I think, as well, is that for me is this feminism independence thing has just taken that away from where men need a little bit of utility, just a bit of appreciation. Just give him a bit of an ego massage for a little bit. That's all he needs, is a little bit of appreciation. That is it. It's not that hard. We're very simple creatures.
You guys are. Yeah. Let the man tickle your back to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Allow that. You don't have to be in control of yourself at all times. Appreciate him, appreciate each other, but appreciate the masculine coming forward. You can say, if he opens the door and you like that, I like how you opened the door for me. That felt really good. I really like this restaurant you picked out. It really took forethought to do this. Thank you. Men like that.
Do you know what? I'll tell you a funny story. So when my wife and I were still very early days, I think we just had 2 dates, and where I was living near Wembley Stadium. You probably know, famous soccer stadium. So I wasn't living quite close to that. And my wife was going to be nearby for a chiropractic appointment or something. Anyway, where she was like, she messaged me. She said, do you know, I'm a little bit lost. I'm not sure where I am, and I'm really low on petrol. So, and it was late, it was dark as well. And I said to her, okay, try and explain to me where you are, and I'll come and find you, and just, make sure you get home safe. And so she explained, and I thought, oh, I know where you are. So while she was still having an appointment, I drove to where she was. I saw her car. So I parked next to her car, waited for her to finish. And as we left, we went to a petrol station together. She got her petrol, and then we left. And then obviously she went home. But that was one thing she often draws back to, was that experience of the fact that, The funny thing was as well was that I appreciated that she asked for my help, because that gave me that utility I needed. It helped me unleash some of my masculine. I felt like, yeah, I'm a big strong man, looking at a woman, but it felt good. And she always draws back to that as well. Says, that's so nice, so considerate. You did that. You found where I was just by description. You found me. You took care of me, and she loved that. And it wasn't a case of her being, a woman who couldn't handle herself. No, but she was just a little bit nervous. She just thought, I don't know the area. I don't know where I can get petrol. If you can help me, great. And that's all it was. But it was just one of those things that she uses the callback often as one of the things that she says, really made me, really appreciate you and attracted to you as well for doing that. So I think little things like that can be so powerful. It's interesting, isn't it? It's not like, honey, I remember the time you took me away to, Rome or Paris or whatever. It's the little things that she'll remember that will, that sticks in our mind. And I think that can just be so powerful.
Absolutely. So the masculine energy is about doing. That's an expression of the masculine, is doing tasks, or rubbing the back, doing something to affect something else, getting something done. And feminine is about being, living it, being, feeling, appreciating. And it could go both ways. Everyone has both masculine and feminine that show up differently at different times. But if a woman's living too much in their masculine and they want a masculine male, they're going to have to, consciously let go of that a little bit and bring in more of the being, appreciating, allowing into their dating life. And that's hard to do if you don't really do that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so true. No, I love that. And I think that's such an important, not distinction, but just an important thing to highlight so that people understand what it looks like. Because I think that's where the confusion occurs. Because if you don't know, I'm a visual person, so I need to see an example of something. And when I know, I'm like, aha. But it just highlights and illustrates the importance of that, giving each other in a relationship something of what the other person needs. And it's not necessarily direct at them, but it's just being able to understand that they need to play a role in that relationship, and allowing them to have that role even on its own is a big thing. And not taking that thing away from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Allow people to show up.
Yeah, I think that's it, right? That's the beautiful sentiment right there, is allow people to show up for what they bring, for each individual brings to the table. And I love that. God, I could talk about this subject for absolutely hours. I love it. It's such a beautiful subject. And I didn't realize that actually you are still out there hunting, which is great. Hunting, out there.
Allowing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You
know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm just playing with you. Allowing.
I just made you sound like a cougar on the prowl or something.
Ooh, that's fine. You can say whatever you want. So another thing is, know what your gifts are, and know like who you are, what brings you joy, what you flow with, whether that's music, creativity, learning through books, doing, being. Know what those gifts are and what you bring to the world and what brings you joy. And you need to show up with that too. Allow people to see your gifts. Allow people to see what brings you that joy, what brings you the flow, whatever that is, whether that's numbers, books, creativity, art, taking care of people. That needs to come through too. You can't hide that, because that's how you're going to allow that connection to happen when you're truly yourself and showing your gifts. People will be able to connect with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know what, based on everything we've said, right? If we were to give everyone a bit of a reset, a dating reset right now, what things would you tell people to take away from this? In order to revisit their whole dating experience and what they're doing and what they're putting out there and how they're going about their dating, what are the kind of top 3, 4, 5 tips you would give everyone, regardless of who they are, when it comes to putting themselves out, when it comes to dating. What should we be doing differently?
Okay. And number one, hope. Have hope in the belief that you will find someone wonderful for you. So you have to have the hope as this guiding principle in your dating life, that there is someone out there for you. There is someone who is going to be respectful, loving, and a great partner for you. That person is out there, and you have to believe that. Have a joyful life. Have joy in your life. Have joy being single. Be happy, optimistic, find your passions. Live a good life on your own. 3, look at the ambivalence, like what I'm doing right now. What is keeping me separate? Is it fear? Are they old patterns that aren't working for me? Are there limiting beliefs? What are my roadblocks? Mine has been ambivalence, but what's yours? Is it that you're fearful of getting hurt, being rejected? Is it that you don't want to get in the same patterns? Is it that you've experienced trauma and abuse in your relationships before and don't want to connect again because you're afraid that that's going to happen again? So understand what your blocks are and what your patterns are and what's keeping you away from love. And then you're going to have to help yourself, whether that is meditation, journaling, introspection, going to a coach, going to a therapist. We all have issues that are keeping us away from what we really want. So you have to know what they are, and then you have to work through those, whether you can do that on your own or if you need some assistance doing that. And then what we're talking about, the masculine, feminine, understand who you are in your dating life, who you want to be, what energy you want to bring to your dating life, and then live that as a dater. Wait, number 5. if you're not getting good matches on your dating profile, you need to completely change your dating profile. Have a friend or have multiple friends look at your profile, take their advice, or if you don't do that, hire a coach just for one session to revamp your profile, and professional pictures help.
Yeah.
So those are my 5
selfies, right? I think.
Wait, did you read that on my Instagram, or is that you?
No, this was
this
actually came up in a clubhouse. We talked about it one evening as well. We were talking about bathroom selfies, and I didn't know it was such a big thing, but it's apparently a huge thing.
Oh my goodness. No, that's my number one thing. No bathroom selfies. Because listen, if you're in the bathroom, people are going to associate what happens in the bathroom with you. So you don't want that association at all. Gosh. Okay. Number 1, thank you. No bathroom selfies. Yeah, that's just like
I say to people, look, you know what, don't even post any picture that appears as if it's a selfie. Just don't do it. It just even deep down psychologically, people feel something from that picture, and it's almost like you come across as someone with no friends if you're just sending out these pictures with I don't mean that in a bad way, but look, we can be creative. We can make it look like it's not a selfie, and make it look like it's someone's taken your picture, a friend has. Make it look like you're out having a good time or something. It just sends off a different energy, a different vibe.
Yeah. Have a friend take your pictures.
Or even have a friend.
Have a friend. I mean, most of us have a friend who might even feel honored, or it gives you something to do. It's a fun thing to do. Like, go out and take some pictures. That could be an activity you do together on a weekend. So yeah, the selfies, they're killing you on your dating profile. Yeah.
Definitely. My new thing is that I'm going to keep these videos, these podcasts, to an hour, so that I can upload the video to IGTV. So
awesome.
Today it has been an absolute pleasure. I love speaking to you, and I definitely think there's going to be a part to this as well. So we won't do a wrap up, but what I will ask is that if anyone watching this or listening to this would like to reach out to you, what is the best way they can get in touch? And do you offer any kind of free consultation or anything like that, so that someone can get a little bit of help that they need?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram. It's Dr. Datefully, dr.datefully. Datefully. My website, thank you. My website is datefully.com. It's Datefully. I have 15-minute free consultations. You can request that through my website. And I have a show on Zeus, Plenty of Fish, and Meet Me on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we talk about dating, love, and mental health. And I put clips from that on my Instagram as well. And on the IGTV section, you can find a bunch of clips.
Superb. Marissa, it has been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed this. This is actually, don't tell any my other guests. This has been one of my favorites. I've loved this. It's been so good. And you know what? Genuinely, there'll be a part 2 as well, because there's so many things we haven't talked about, like the mental health aspect and so much more as well. So will you be a guest again?
Absolutely. And maybe I will even share more about my dating life if people want to hear about it, because I'm not a complete open book, but you can flip through some of the chapters sometimes.
I love it. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for being a guest. It's been an honor.
You're welcome.
And to everyone else, this has been the Feel Inspired podcast. I'm Amit Sodha. Thank you for listening, watching, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one, folks. Take care.
Wonderful. Bye.